new book too. It got no creases in it. It's called The Devastation of the Indians by Herman Biffalt. And then it says Introduction by Bill Donovan. The Devastation of the Indians.
Y'all brothers got it. So what page?
This page 73. The highlighted.
Yeah, the highlighted part.
It says, get right to the point. It says they killed a countless number of Indians in the course of shipbuilding.
Yeah, the Spaniards. So they had Indians building ships, meaning they had the Northern Kingdom building ships. Go ahead.
They also took Indians aboard for voyages to the north and south along the coast.
So north and south. So that's what they were doing. They had them on ships. Go ahead.
The Indians had to carry anchors to the coast weighing 3 or 4 quintals, and they marched, thus shackled those pathetic naked creatures, one behind another, their hands clinging to their shoulders and waist of one in the front, carrying heavy burdens on their backs. And I saw many Indians thus laden, struggling in anguish down the roads. The Spaniards broke up marriages, separating husbands and wives, robbed couples of their children, took for themselves the wives and daughters of the people, or gave them to the sailors and soldiers as consolation. And the sailors bore them away in their vessels and were crowded with Indians, all of them dying of hunger and thirst. And true to say, if one wanted to tell about this in detail or to describe all the cruelties perpetrated, it would make a big book that would horrify the world.
This Deuteronomy 28 and 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. That's plain, man. You see? That's plain, man. That's part of them curses that fell upon the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Give me, drop that one and go to like, let me see it right fast.
Ships loaded with Indians that have been thus attacked and captured as I have related. No more do they cast overboard into the sea the third part of the numerous Indians they stowed on their vessels, these dead being added to those that have killed in their Indian lands. The captives crowded into the holds of their ships without food or water or very little.
And I'm sure on them ships, it was hard for them ships to leave the dock, because just like the Southern Kingdom, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, just like in West Africa, it was hard for them ships to leave the dock, because what the tribes would do was take them shackles and beat holes into the ships, and them ships would be filled up with water. And you had some jakes just drowning. They couldn't leave it, like I said, they couldn't leave the dock because the ship had holes in it. So I'm sure they were doing the same thing. They was rebelling, man. They didn't want to go on them ships. They didn't want to go on there. They were fighting, but it was the power of the Most High making them to where they couldn't get out them conditions because they had to fulfill prophecy. Go ahead.
It says, or with very little, so as not to deprive the Spanish tyrants who called themselves ship owners and who carried enough food for themselves on their voyages of attack.
And then I'm going to hit you with this. We know them so-called Jews funded all that. Them rats, them fake Jews over there, them fake Jews who saying that they Jews, them fake Jews over there in the land of Israel, them fake Jews funded the whole transatlantic slave trade. Okay?
Spanish tyrants who called themselves ship owners who carried enough food for themselves on their voyages of attack, and for the pitiful Indians who died of hunger and thirst, there is no remedy but to cast them into the sea. And verily, as Spaniards told me, their ships in these regions could voyage without compass or chart, merely by following for the distance between the Locoyos Islands in Hispaniola, which is about 60 or 70 leagues, a trace of those Indian corpses floating in the sea, corpses that had been cast overboard by earlier ships. Afterwards, when they disembarked on the island of Hispaniola, it is heartbreaking to see those naked Indians. Heartbreaking for anyone with a vision of pity. The famished state that they are in, fainting and falling down, weak from hunger, men, women, old people, and children. Then, like sheep, they are sorted out into flocks of 10 or 20 persons, separating fathers from sons, wives from husbands, and the Spaniards draw lots. The ship's owners carry out their share, the best flock, to compensate them for monies they have invested in their fleet. Of the 2 or 3 ships, the ruffian tyrants getting their share of captives who will be house slaves. And when in this repartimento a tyrant gets an old person or invalid, he says, why do you give me this one to bury him, and this sick one do you give him to make him well? See by such remarks in what esteem the Spaniards hold the Indians, and judge if they are accomplishing the divine concepts of love for our fellow man as laid down by the prophets.
So in a nutshell, like we went into the history, that happened to the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's it on that book. You show them that book again?
The devastation of the Indians.
Like I said, man, that happened to our people, man. And that's what we are here to do, to tell our people who they are, man. That's what we are here to do, to gather the elect out of the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, because that's our history, man. And like I said, man, people say that them curses don't fit the northern kingdom. They don't know the history, man. They don't know the proper history, man. They don't got the records. And Columbus knew, Christopher Columbus knew that the northern kingdom was on this side, man. He knew that. And then I got this. It's just for more edification. Man.
Grab this right quick when you grab it now.
Okay.
Second Ezra 2nd Ezra 13 and 39.
Hey, start at the first verse. Over at the first verse. Well, what's that right there?
That's 14. I'm just gonna read where it said the Indians come across.
Is that the part dealing with Moses?
That's Moses in the bush.
Yeah, read that first. We're gonna read this first. And then we're gonna jump to what the brothers read.
Okay, this is 2nd Ezra 14 and 1. And it came to pass upon the 3rd day, I sat up under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of the bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here I am, Lord. And I stood up on my feet. Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talk with him when my people served in Egypt.
So Moses did not only just get commandments, he got the end times. He got visions of the end times, what was going to happen to Israel. Okay, go ahead.
And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season.
Yep, because he didn't get just commandments. It's 613 commandments. He just didn't get that. He got the end times and what was going to happen to the nation of Israel too. And here it is, the angel is letting Ezra know what he revealed to Moses.
Verse 5, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and command him, saying, These words shall thou declare, and these shall thou hide. And now I say unto thee, that thou lay up in thy heart the signs that I have showed, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou have heard.
So this right here, Moses knew, and Ezra is explaining, the angels is explaining to Ezra what happened to the nation of Israel and what was going to happen to the nation of Israel at the end time. So Moses knew. That's why he's saying this in Deuteronomy 33 and 29. Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of his excellency. And thy enemy shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. So look, that's what's going to happen in the end, because that's what thermonuclear destruction is coming. Martial law, when Esau bring all that, when the Mosai let Esau bring that on the left-hand side, Israel is going to come out on the top. Esau going into slavery, and the rest of these other nations is going into slavery. So Moses knew about the end time. So when the Most High light this place up, these people are going to be found liars who the real chosen people are, and who the Most High is really with. You see? This, yeah, keep reading. Start back at the top again and read that again.
Okay, this is 2nd Ezra 14 and 1. And it came to pass upon the 3rd day, I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of the bush over against me, saying, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here I am, Lord. And I stood up on my feet. Then he said unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt, and brought him to the Mount Sinai, where I held him by me a long season. Verse 5, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, These words shall thou declare, and these shall thou hide.
Yep.
And now I say unto thee, that thou lay up in thy heart the signs that I showed, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou hast heard.
Alright, now, just like I was saying, Moses knew, and I'm gonna prove he knew. I'm gonna jump up to Deuteronomy 33, and I'm gonna jump up to 27. I'm gonna read all the way down to 29. This Deuteronomy 33 and 26. No, I started at 27. The eternal power is thy refuge underneath, are the everlasting arms, and he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. Israel then shall dwell safely alone. So ain't nobody gonna rule with Israel. Only Israel gonna rule. Okay? And then it said the foundation of Jacob shall be upon the land of corn and wine. Also his heaven shall be the drop of the dew. Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people, saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and whom is the sword of his excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars. Who are thy enemies? All these other nations. And the top one is the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of, Esau. Okay? And then it said, shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Now, I'm going to prove to you that the devil knew that the northern kingdom was over here, and they knew who they was rounding up in West Africa. They knew that. They knew they was rounding up Israel in West Africa, and they knew who they was coming to see over here, which was the northern kingdom. The Spanish and the Portuguese was that.
This Christopher Columbus and the partition of Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese discoveries by Dr. M. Caseling. It says, this is page 14, and it says, Zacuto doubtless called Columbus' attention to the nativibus during the latter's residence in Salamanca. He brought a copy of it in the city, according to a note in his own handwriting, for 41 Maravidas. It says, later in Spain, he read with religious zeal to tract on the Messiah, which was written by the proselyte Samuel Abbas of Morocco for the purpose of converting R. Isaac of Sergimente. It had been translated into Spanish in 1339 and into Latin 100 years later. This book interested Columbus so much that he exerted.
What page you on?
That was 14. 3 whole chapters.
What page you on?
15. He was also very fond of reading the Bible and the 4th book of Ezra, which was probably written by a Jew who lived outside of Palestine.
Which was Israel. You know, Ezra was a Levite. Okay? Ezra was a Levite. Now, they said the 4th book of Ezra. Now you got the Ezra that's in the Bible, meaning not the, this is the Bible, but I'm saying it to where you can understand. In the Bible, right? In the Bible, right? Then you got in the Apocrypha, you got an Ezra. You got a Ezra in here, and then they consider Nehemiah as second Ezra. You got Ezra, then Nehemiah considered the second Ezra, and then you got the Ezra that's in the Apocrypha. The second Ezra is considered the third Ezra. The first Ezra is considered the third Ezra, and the second Ezra is considered the 4th Ezra. Okay.
And he said, according to his own exertion and incentives that impelled him to plan his discoveries was not a love of science, but his interpretation of the prophecies of Isaiah.
You see? So they knew that the northern kingdom was over, and we finna get this. You see, so these devils knew, man. These devils knew. Scriptures say their tongue shall fall upon their own head. So it's like they know, so they can't deny it. So the things that they got in the records, they can't deny it, saying that they don't know. It's a trap unto them. You see?
Second Ezra 13 and 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which was carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Syria, led away captive.
Now the thing about that, you can go to now you had some of the other tribes already had went into captivity. You can read 1 Chronicles 5 and 26 and tell you about some of the tribes. Because it really started around 740 BC. Okay? Then you can read 2 Kings, the 15th chapter in the 29th verse, and tell you about how all the rest of the other tribes had went into the rest of the 10 had went into captivity up under
17th chapter 2.
Yeah, the 17th chapter. The 17th chapter 2. And Salmanasar, he was a king that took Israel. But the one who finished it off was a king called Sargon II. He was the one that finished it off and put the rest of the tribes in the captivity. And that happened around 724 BC. That's just for edification, so you brothers will know. Go ahead.
And that Salmanasar, that was the fifth, because you had a bunch of Salmanasars.
I thought it was the second select.
No, he was the fifth.
Okay, the water.
Yeah, Salmanasar the fifth. So you had a bunch of those, just like we had different Caesars and things. This is 2 Ezra 13:39. It says, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which was carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Over the waters, which was in Syria. That's where they went. They didn't come to so-called America yet. They were going into captivity. Go ahead.
Verse 41, but they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Never mankind dwelt. They didn't inhabit the land. Now you had the Phoenicians, which Solomon had a navy, and you had the Phoenicians, which was seafarers, which was Hiram Abiel, which was cool with Solomon. They used to come over here and get wood for the Solomon's temple. Okay. So it took them it took them a year and a half to get over here, and another year and a half to get back. So it took them in a whole 3 years to go back, to come to America, so-called America, and to go back. So they used to come back every 3 years with wood and precious things, them Phoenicians, okay, which are Canaanites. So nobody inhabited this land as a nation of people yet, but you had some of them come over, okay? And you had Israel coming over way before Columbus. You had the Vikings come over, Eric the Red, them, the Danes, the Swedes. Eric the Red was a light-skinned Viking. What? And Thor. Go ahead. And Thor was a steward up under Eric the Red. Around 1000 AD, they was over here already, man. They had been coming over here. So in 1492, Christopher Columbus, which he stole that name, Christopher Columbus, he was late. In other words, he was the last one to come over here. Go ahead.
I'm just edifying what the brother just said. This is 1 Kings 10 and 21. And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted in those days of Solomon. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy Tarshish bringing gold and silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all kings of the earth for the riches and for wisdom.
See? For the what? For the riches?
For the riches and for wisdom.
So Solomon succeeded all the kings, the riches and the wisdom. So he was wise than them goddamn Hermites. You see?
Back in 2nd Ezra 13 and 41, it says, but they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth further into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Because they partially kept it. Like I said earlier, they were speaking Hebrew, but it was beat out of them, man. And you got some of the tribes speaking broken Hebrew, but it's not Alashawan Kadash. It's not the Paleo Hebrew, but it's similar to it, but it's broken Hebrew, man. So they ain't speaking that pure language, man, because they were beat out of them and they lost their heritage. And then you got that book by James Adair, North American Indians tell you when he was amongst them how they was keeping the customs, man. And you got Manasseh ben Israel, which came over here and seen the tribe, and they was telling them, look, we are circumcised like our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In that medieval empire of the Israelites, I want to say in that book, I got it, but I ain't bring it. But that's just part of the history, man. You know? So these devils knew exactly, and then they tell you in the Jewish almanac, that they knew about a Gad them, you know.
It says verse 43. It says, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over.
Because going down in that Red Sea, going into the Red Sea and then going into all up under the bottom of Africa, the southern parts of Africa, those are rough water. So the Most High held it still so that current can bring them over here to South America, man. So they knew where they was going. They knew, man. They had the records, man. Israel knew. And then, just like we read, we proved Columbus, like I said, when she stole that name, they knew that they was over here, man. They knew that the Southern Kingdom was over here, man. They knew, man. You know?
It says, verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
Right.
And the same region is called Arshibah. Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come.
You see? So that's that, man. And Judah, Benjamin, and Levi at that time were left back over there. You see? They were left back over there, but the 10 tribes came over here.
big ass, a huge, extra huge bull mastiff.
All right, it's called a Spanish Mastiff. That's what they was letting on.
Look
Spanish
down there like
Mastiff. It looked like a big as a damn donut.
yeah, look like a damn Saint Bernard, but it's huge, big shit, man.
Yeah. So our people was getting lit up, man. All right, they were killing our people left and right, man. But that's part of the prophecy. That was gonna happen according to the King James